The big match has finally begun, the Blue Lock 11 versus the Japan Under-20 team. While these episodes had their moments, they were overshadowed by a slew of disappointments. With the disaster this season has been so far, many Blue Lock fans are crying out for a studio change to save the series that we love. Will our prayers be answered? Absolutely not.
No, she can't go.
But before we dive into that, let's break down episodes 6 and 7. Episode 6 surprisingly added a lot of extra scenes, which was a nice touch, I can't lie. The build up was excellent and really got me hyped for the match itself. Everything from the players preparing to the spectators filling the stadium was handled well. They created an environment that genuinely felt like a professional football match. The anime exclusive scenes elevated the source material slightly, giving it that national stage feel, which is fitting since this is the Blue Lock players' debut at that level. We also got a small tease of Aiku's backstory. Just like with Rin and Sai, the anime is giving us glimpses that will be elaborated on later. I won't spoil anything for anime only viewers, but if you're a football fan, you might be able to piece together what his backstory is based on this image. That said, parts of this episode felt dragged out. The focus on various character backstories is already making me think that they'll cut out certain scenes later in order to keep the story contained to the match itself. This decision is bound to have consequences for the Blue Lock anime's future, which I'll discuss later in the video. The first half of episode 6 got me hyped. The atmosphere, the lighting, the OST and the sound effects were on point. But then I remembered I'm watching Blue Lock season 2. Bro, when these players were in the tunnel, I was so excited to see one of the most iconic panels come to life. And then, what a letdown. The walkout scene wasn't terrible, but this iconic panel deserved way more. The anime version lacked the epic and grand feel that Yusuke Nomura's art conveyed. It should have been way more intense. As for the match itself, did anyone really expect the animation to improve? At this point, if this doesn't kill the copium some of you lot have for this season, nothing will. The amount of copium for this season has surpassed the likes of Gojo vs Sukuna. It was the same old PNG look, just as we expected. The best moment during kickoff was Batra's one-on-one. The CGI was meh, but the little bit of animation we got for his rush turn was pretty cool. My expectations for Aiku's interception were low, but honestly, it wasn't bad. It could have been way worse. I have no idea why they made the snake red instead of green. Like, the animators could have just googled some of the manga colorings for reference. Overall, episode 6 was good, but that's not saying much this season. One thing I know is that the Blue Lock anime has a way of deceiving its fan base with strong early episodes, and since episode 7 is when we're diving into the thick of the match, I wanted to see what it would bring, and oh boy. Let's get this out of the way first. Nagi's goal was the only saving grace of episode 7, and that alone should tell you everything you need to know. I swear, Nagi's real weapon is his ability to trap the budget, because 95% of this episode's budget clearly went to that one goal. The majority of this episode had me absolutely fuming, but Nagi's moment, it made me so happy. He's definitely the animator's favorite. That scene cooked. The artwork, the lighting and the crowd's reaction was spot on. The anime did a great job making that scene as hype as it was in the manga, and that's where my praise for this episode ends, because everything else was horrendous. I never thought that the footage from the trailer could look worse in the actual episode, but here we are. Without Nagi's moment, this episode would have been a disaster. I'm not even going to talk about the PNGs, CGI or sliding shots, because let's be honest, this is Blue Lock season 2 we're talking about. At this point, it's expected. My main issue with this episode wasn't even the visuals, it was the music. For all its faults, one thing Blue Lock has consistently nailed is the voice acting and the OST, but the music in this episode was abysmal. They completely fumbled the music choice during the first half of this episode. When the U20 defenders were showcasing their weapons to guard the Blue Lock players, they played this upbeat track that sounded like it belonged in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I get that the U20 defenders are quirky in their own way, but this is a high stakes match. They needed to get a soundtrack that fit the tone. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, we finally see Sai Itoshi in action. Where do I even begin? This is supposed to be the best player in Japan, right? You'd expect a cold introduction, but instead we got elevator music. When Rin was introduced in season 1, they gave him an epic theme that instantly established his dominance and made you feel his power. Sai, on the other hand, elevator music. In a do or die match where careers are on the line, they somehow decided this was the vibe to go for. Man, it was painful to see Sai animated like this. He's a character every Blue Lock fan has been waiting to see, and he's been hyped up since the very beginning. This is supposed to be the guy who effortlessly makes every play look easy, who's on a completely different level from everyone else on the pitch. When I first read this chapter, it gave me chills. Yusuke Nomura perfectly illustrated how intimidating Sai is. Every time he had the ball, you could feel the dread from the Blue Lock players. That intensity practically jumps off the manga pages when you read it. When imagining Sai animated, I always thought he'd have the same aura as Akashi from Kuroko no Basket, that commanding presence and effortless dominance, but as a footballer. Instead, the anime gave us nothing. Sai had no weight, no presence, and no impact. This episode made him feel forgettable. For a character who's supposed to stand out as one of the most pivotal characters in this season, this was a total violation. For this part of the video, I'll be discussing some manga spoilers. If you're anime only, please like, comment, and click off to avoid spoilers. If you're someone who doesn't mind spoilers, feel free to stick around. I don't know if some of you guys saw this, but rumors are flying around that Blue Lock has been renewed for season 3, supposedly set to be announced at the end of season 2, with 8-Bit Studio still in charge.
No, nigga. No. 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 No.
The number of losses the Blue Lock fanbase has taken with this season needs to be studied. Maybe I'm late to the party, but when I saw this tweet last week, my heart dropped. I know what some of you are thinking is just a rumor, but in today's age of the internet, a rumor is just an unverified fact waiting to be confirmed. Let's be real for a second. If this is true, Blue Lock will never get a great anime adaptation under 8-Bit Studio. This isn't a hot take, it's an undeniable fact. With season 2 likely wrapping up in early 2025, my guess is that season 3 will release sometime in 2027 or 2028. Worst case scenario would be even late 2026. At this point, I'm seriously considering dropping the anime after season 2. 8-Bit Studio has made an absolute mockery of the Blue Lock fanbase. Forcing animators to delete frames of animation just to hit deadlines is just disgraceful. This arc is the best in this series, and they had the audacity to butcher it like this. Fans are begging for the animation quality of season 1 to return, and even that wasn't perfect, especially in the second half. I love Blue Lock so much, and it's embarrassing to see the cope, denial, and begging from parts of the fanbase. While this season is painful to watch, it's not unwatchable, and I still stand by this. But one thing I refuse to do is to gaslight anyone into thinking that this season is better than what it actually is. I'm only sticking with it to create commentary and discussion with you guys. If you're enjoying this season, cool, I respect that. But let's be honest, this is not the adaptation Blue Lock deserves. What worries me even more is that season 3 is going to adapt the Neo-Egoist League, which has some of the most epic moments in the series. There are incredible highlights in the U20 arc, like the Big Bang Drive, Barrow's volley, Rin's awakening, and his final showdown with Sai. These moments already feel like they've been butchered in this season, and the NEO moments are even crazier. Moments like Kaiser Impact, Monster Jenga style, 44 Panther Snipe, 5-shot revolver, Metavision, and Barrow being a menace deserve top tier animation. But let's face it, even if 8-Bit Studio was given time and budget to work on season 3, I just don't think that they're built to handle the Neo-Egoist League. Another issue is the pacing. The NEO is the longest arc in the manga. The FC Barcha match spans 10 chapters, Manshan City runs for 30 chapters, and the Ubers game is about the same length. That's not even counting the ongoing PXG match or the build-up chapters between each of the games. If they plan to adapt all of this into one season, they're gonna rush the production. And with Kunigami's return, they have to include his match against Shido to give proper context for the wild card, because they cut that out this season. Splitting the NEO into multiple parts would make the most sense, but given the production committee's history, I'm not optimistic. Blue Lock was supposed to be the successor to Haikyuu, the big name sports anime of the decade, but right now it doesn't seem like the anime will ever live up to the expectations of manga readers. In an ideal world, the best-selling manga of 2023 would get the adaptation it deserves, but unfortunately it isn't. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, not just on these 2 episodes, but on the rumored announcement of season 3. How do you think the NEO would be handled? Are you sticking with the series, or are you ready to drop the anime completely after season 2? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, stay blessed.